All right, so we are Riverside in Alaska. Supposed to be floating on pack rafts right now, but instead we're sitting on deflated pack rafts. We have downtime to kill. The river rose overnight to where we were camped. We moved camp. We have a day waiting out the river to float, so we're sitting here recording podcasts while we wait. So that's what we're doing. I don't know exactly how these are going to be released or when. There'll be an audio version, may or may not be a video version as well, so you may be able to see what we're doing right now and where we're at. But we're sitting here with 3 giant caribou and 1 good caribou. And we're going to tell the story of each of them. So not of the whole trip or all the details. This whole thing was filmed. We'll have other podcasts going over other elements, but right now let's take each of these 4 bulls and tell the story of how we found them, how we approached them, how we killed them, what went right, what went wrong, etc. Yeah. Other context, Steve, we want to set before we dive into starting?
No, I think you got it. We're sitting on the side of the river. Last night was pretty crazy. We got to camp. We debated on floating out or not. Decided to not. We noticed the river was rising and just kind of looking at it like, man, it's moving faster. And then we put some sticks in the water, noticed like, oh, it's gone up a couple inches. Going to bed. We're camped on the edge of the river and we're nervous. A little bit nervous. Jeff and I walked to like where water could come in. Like, it's got to rise a foot. There's no way that's going to happen. And we woke up at 3 a.m. to 2 to 3 inches of water running through the tent. And now the water's continuing to rise. Where the tent was is legit a foot.
At least
a foot underwater. So it's gone up, I'd say a minimum of 24 inches since we got to camp yesterday. The main river, it looks like spring runoff right now. Big logs floating down the river. It's just pure mud color. It's absolutely crazy. So we're killing time, as Mark mentioned, to record this podcast. Let's start. Let's go back to Tuesday. We get flown in. And Jeff, I basically had the destination where I wanted to go, but Jeff had pre-scouted.
And Mark.
Yeah. Jeff and Mark had pre-scouted a spot to go hunt that looked easy. So what led you to find that spot?
A couple things. One was a book, some information I found, and then 2 is just looking at Google Earth and Onyx, trying to figure out what looked like. Well, kind of one, I knew the basin we wanted to hunt, and then 2, just figuring out the areas to potentially camp and glass and something that we could get to one spot and see a ton of country. That's what I was trying to do.
And we didn't even know exactly where we were going to be dropped off.
No.
We just kind of knew it was near the confluence of these 2 rivers, and it happened to be right where Jeff wanted to go hunt. So
when you guys flew out in the field first, and then you sent me an inReach message and said just landed, and had the waypoint with that, and then immediately we looked and we already had that idea, but as we started looking, it's like, if we're dropped here, we got to hike up this hill, get to this glassing point, and there's a ton of country to look at.
Yep.
So, that only, I think, reinforced the plan of seeing where we actually were getting dropped.
A good, easy first jumping off point, for sure.
Yeah. But easy is relative in terms of Alaska.
Yeah. And the plan was to go up there. We had that day plus 2 more days of food, so basically like 3 days. And we thought for sure we'd be back down. I guess in one sense we were, in one sense we haven't been back down there. We talked about that, but to fast forward, we'll skip some details. We'll tell the story of Justin's bull first. Justin, you didn't know it was going to be your bull until it almost happened.
Yeah.
So I don't want to skip to that either. But in terms of, I guess, Jeff getting up to that glassing point, making that hike, having e-scouted it, looked at it, picked out a glassing spot, was it kind of what you expected when you got boots on the ground up there?
I think it was. Like, I had actually a higher point than we ended up going to glass, but we could see better from this little saddle that we were in. And to be honest, I looked at it so many times, it looked like what I thought it would look like, which is always good. But we could see just really well from there. And the moment we got up there and sat down for 2 minutes, I don't know if we'd sat down yet, and I spotted that one bull up there already. So the trip started off good with spotting caribou right away, and off we were.
Yeah, I think what we immediately noticed was how high the caribou were.
Yeah.
They were like at the tops of the mountains, and when we got in that first day, there was a bunch of snow, and they were up high and nothing down low, which caught us off guard, I guess.
Yeah, I thought they'd be spread throughout the valley more, but I think as we figured it out, like the bugs were so bad that they went higher because there was less bugs.
Yeah,
and we didn't know that till a couple days in. But
Yeah. So Tuesday we fly in, we hike in, we can't hunt, it's the fly day. We're seeing caribou, we're in a pretty good spot, set camp, wake up, with high hopes of seeing more caribou from camp essentially, which is basically what happened.
So Tuesday night, we spotted the caribou, a lone bull way, about as far away as you could spot one.
Yeah.
And
we were thinking like 3-ish miles, 3+
3 to
miles.
4, yeah. And we're looking out through the spine scope into the setting sun, so it's not great, but you could just kept seeing glimpses of the antlers, and just like, that looks like a big bull. So go to bed excited, wake up in the morning, and I guess we immediately spotted him.
Yeah, he was within 50
him.
yards of where he'd been the night before.
Jeff spotted him, and in between us and them was the night before was some caribou. We're like, well, let's work towards where we saw the ones the night before, and we're just working in the direction of that big bull. Get over to where we were hoping to see the first group, and there was a smaller shooter in there. Didn't see any caribou, but we did continued to. Jeff had spotted him bedded, the big bull bedded on this little knob, and it was kind of like, I don't know, for me it was just like, let's go.
Well, we also had seen that other herd off to the left too, right? So we thought, well, we'll go make a play on this one, and if that doesn't work, or if we get him, we can at least move over and try to get that into that other group too.
Make a big arc, basically.
Yeah.
There was a big canyon draw that we had to cross, so getting up further in the drainage was going to help us to not drop so much elevation.
Yeah. That creek crossing
how far
that
do you think that that lone bull was from us, from the time we left camp? Good 2 miles? 2.5?
From where either we think it's 3 to 4 miles. 3 to 4.
Yeah, I think it was at
from
least
camp
3.
to him.
Gotcha.
I'll pull it up and look. And then it was a couple. I'll double check.
So basically we start after this lone bull. We're still keeping tabs. We had worked our way back over to where we had seen those 3 or 4 caribou up in the snow, and we had the bull bedded, got to the spot, and didn't see any of the other caribou. So we just basically picked a good route and started heading right for that lone bull. We got maybe within a mile, and Steve looked at me and he's like, "Justin, you want to shoot this bull?" And I'm like, yeah. I really didn't know how big he was at all, honestly. I'm filming the trip, so not really looking through the spotter much. I got glimpses of him the night before, but being it's day one, it's one thing. In Kotzebue, we learned on our first caribou hunt, my first caribou hunt, is you would see a nice sized caribou, and we'd get up to them and they weren't quite as big as we thought, so I didn't really know what to expect. But with this group of guys, knowing that they had all spent a lot of time looking at what caribou we had in the valley, knew that it was a good one to go after. So I got really excited, and we just pushed on, went down into this really steep canyon. We had before that we had to take off our boots, cross that creek, which was brutal.
That was cool.
I have maybe done that once or twice ever, but stripping down to no socks, rolling up your pants and crossing early in the morning. That was probably our coldest morning.
It was cold, yeah.
And that water was just freezing. It felt like the bottoms of my feet were just ripping, like I was going to see blood. It was bad. But we get across that, and then it took probably half mile before your feet, the feeling came back. But anyways, we get into that next drainage and kind of maneuver through some steep canyon walls and get down and cross. And we just kind of took the lead. And then we got up, we kind of claimed this little rise, and we hadn't seen the Caribou in quite some time. And didn't quite know where he was. The wind was kind of pushing up, and so we were trying to be really cautious. We thought maybe do we go left and hug this left side, give us an angle, but it was really exposed, or do we hug the creek bed, move along the side? We opted to go down on the front. So this whole time I'm shooter, but I'm still filming the stock. Day one, we're trying to get as much content as possible. Steve's just kind of taking the lead, moving low just off the side of the rim, and we just keep moving and moving, slowly glassing, don't see him. And then it was funny, right before these guys had spotted that Caribou, I think all three of us or four of us looked up on the ridge and could see this cluster of brush, at least what we thought was brush, and we put the binoculars up to it, and Steve was like, holy crap, that's him. And at that point it was like, okay, and I got the binoculars out and I looked, and I instantly thought, like, I'm pretty sure Steve's gonna want to shoot this one. Like, he's gonna go back on his word, and I'm not gonna be the shooter, Yeah.
When he said, "Do you want to shoot this one?" he was just taking inventory.
Yeah, right.
Like, are you interested? Yeah.
I was extremely feeling lucky at the time. But anyways, the bull was quartering away from us, but he was bedded down. All we could see was his tops and a little bit of his back and his hind end.
He was skyline.
Skyline, yeah. We couldn't get a shot right there, so we just kept working our way. We got to one point, and basically we stuck Jeff probably 30-40 yards off to the side of us. He crawled out on his hands and knees, and Steve's like, for some reason this bull gets up, he wins us or whatever, if you get a shot, take it. So we had kind of a backup shooter, and Steve had got the gun all leveled up, set up on the ground for me. I basically crawled right into scope, handed the camera over to Mark. And then did you film as well?
Yep.
Handed the cameras over, and I got set up, and same thing. You see the top of his back and his hind quarter there and his rack, and I just leveled the gun, dialed the MOA, and we were ready. We probably hung out for 10 minutes.
Yeah. So we're debating. The wind was not going at him, but it was also not great.
Yeah.
And we're debating: do we whistle? Do we wait? We just didn't feel good.
What was the distance?
340. Yeah. Dial 4 on the MOA. That's what I remember telling Justin.
Yeah.
So I dialed 4 1/4 originally, and then told him to dial back. We were just nervous about the wind, and it's one of those situations. Do you whistle and make noise and get him to stand up and make a quick shot, or do you just wait it out? And fortunately, he kind of made the decision for us and just stood up within 10 minutes. Something like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't long.
I think one of the things I'll remember the most off of my Caribou is when I'm watching him bedded through the scope, perfectly level and calm. I look back at these guys and I'm like, that is the prettiest thing I've ever seen in my crosshairs.
Right.
Yeah, he said that.
Right.
It was just unbelievable. Like, I could not get over that I had the opportunity to shoot something like this on day one. I mean, I had high expectations, but not that big. So it was amazing. But yeah, the bull stands up. He's quartering away, but I was so rock solid. I snuck it in there right in the middle of his body, and he trots down the hill, get another one in him, and he falls over dead right there. It was just like unbelievable. The high of day one, instantly gratification, all the training. Steve's been pushing me, make sure you're in shape, and glad I did. This has been
That was only the start.
This is
What was
been
that?
a
Was
hunt
it
for sure.
10:30, 11 a.m. I don't remember
Yeah,
the time.
it was pretty early. I mean,
Pretty early.
Yeah.
once we spotted him in the morning, we were pretty much like,
We got to him.
Yeah.
Steve was on a mission to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something about when we were stalking him too, right? It would have been, we would have had a much better opportunity if we would have could have gone left, right,
Yeah.
to get up above to shoot down onto him. But obviously with the wind, we couldn't. So that's why we were in that, I would say, a worse position.
Yeah, it
down
wasn't
below.
like the wind
exposed.
dictated our position, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a slam dunk. It was like,
No.
I hope we can.
Yeah,
It
What
could
we
go
saw didn't look like it was going to be.
there was enough terrain there that I don't know if we'd be able to see
We
him.
talked multiple times, like you might sneak up after shoot him at 50 yards,
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is always with a rifle. With a bow, you need it. With a rifle, you're pushing your luck trying to when you're getting that close.
I would say if anything, we got lucky he was skylined, because if he
Oh,
would
yeah.
have
Oh,
been
yeah.
10 more yards, we would have been right on top of him.
Yeah.
And once we got up there, he was bedded in a weird spot.
Yeah, like on the side of the hill, just
Yeah,
out
it
of
was-
just out of the sun a little bit.
Yeah.
But then walking up to him, you're like, is this real?
I think we all thought that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just compared to what we've seen out of Kotzebue on a previous caribou hunt, just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mass for days.
mass.
in the
I mean,
prop.
just a completely in a different body size entirely. Like,
Yeah.
Just twice as big as what we remember. Mark killed his bull in Kotzebue, and we packed it out, the two of us, in one trip, no problem.
Right.
This was like, we're looking at an
You're
elk
not splitting
here.
here.
Yeah, this was way different body
Yeah.
size.
Yeah, just I would compare the bodies of these to, you know, some of your raghorn Idaho elk. I mean, they're
Yeah.
huge.
Legit.
We had no idea. Get into later and all the other caribou, but every single body on them thing was just very, very big. So yeah, we were on cloud nine. I was, you know, super happy and just getting through all the photos and video and putting my tag on him and coming to a realization that I've technically only have hunted Alaska for 2 days and shot a Sitka blacktail and this giant caribou. Crazy. I've been on a lot of Alaska hunts, but I've actually only had a few tags myself, so super grateful for the opportunity. And like I told in the video, you guys will see later on, just the selfless group that we have. Like, I seriously was expecting him to be like, no way I'm shooting that thing. That was awesome. It worked out, as you guys will see here later on. But yeah, so then what did we do?
So, before the next one, I know we touched on stuff, right? Like wind and approach, but just thinking back on it, any other good, bad, like glad this happened, glad it didn't. We mentioned a lot, like good thing he was skylined. I think we made the right approach with the wind, but just any other, I guess, takeaways before we move on to what actually happened after Justin's?
I mean, for me, I saw the opportunity, and when I see something like that, it's like, okay, it's time to get aggressive and go. Like we basically said, let's go kill that bull, and went as fast as we could go to get in position, and then you got to slow way down and not F it up. But it wasn't we'll kind of take our time getting over there.
Yeah, no,
And that was based off the information we had from the day before of, I think the bull's maybe feeding down lower and then climbing up higher in the afternoon. So it was like, we may be on a time crunch here to get there before that bull gets up and heads up higher to get out of the bugs.
Yeah,
So
just because he had moved 50 yards overnight didn't mean he was going to stay there all day when it got hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in my mind, I was expecting him to be moving up the mountain, and like, we better go now and go kill this thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we had 6 bulls. You know, it was 3.3 miles from camp in a straight line, so that's at least 4 the way we had to hike it. So probably 1.5 to 2 miles to his left, as we're approaching him to that left, there was a group of 6 bulls, 5 or 6.
I don't remember. Yeah. I think
And
6.
definitely a couple shooters in there. And, you know, we got 4 tags to fill. We had a couple days of beautiful weather. It was kind of like we took our time and appreciated cutting up Justin's, but it was also not like, let's sit here for hours like we were able to do with Mark's bull. So we got it, took photos, enjoyed it, got them loaded in packs, and then...
So we got camp, all of Justin's bull, and we're getting further and further away from where we started.
Yeah, we got all of our camp with 3 days, well, at this point 2 days of food, an entire massive bodied caribou with a rack that weighs 25, 30 pounds. Justin's got all the camera gear, so Justin loads up with the rack and everything, and he's super, super heavy. And we're like, well, we got to go look for those other bulls. And we decided at this point to pack out to where we are now, which is 3.5 miles upstream from where our rafts are. So we kind of end up doing this big, almost loop. But it just seemed like the more practical option. We definitely pulled up Onyx maps, and we're like, you know, Jeff and I were going back and forth. Like, I think we could get down this ridge. You never know, especially in Alaska, what adventure that could entail. But fortunately, ended up working out good. But we got over to where we had seen those bulls, and we basically, they weren't there, and we decided to drop camp, drop all the meat, the horns, and we're like, well, let's just camp here tonight, because it's probably 2-3 o'clock.
Yeah, it was getting mid-afternoon.
Yeah. And we had a lot of miles of country to kind of climb up and go look for those caribou. And that's what we did. Grabbed guns, unloaded everything out of the packs we didn't need for the next few hours, and started climbing up the hill.
Yeah, left the meat, dry bags full of gear.
Yeah.
Started going, moving lighter.
There was no break in between.
No.
I was exhausted. That was extremely heavy. It wasn't just like go around the corner. It was like go down, go up, go down, go up, go down, go up. And well over 100 pounds to get to that spot.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, it was woke up, maybe glass for an hour that morning, ended up hauling Bud over, killed Justin's bull, loaded up, hike another mile or so, drop everything, and then start climbing up this ridge. And you could go another 1,500, 2,000 feet. 1,500.
Yeah.
And we just started. Jeff was kind of leading, and we're just picking. There's so many folds to the country. We're just kind of zigzagging, just looking over this crest and looking over that.
We didn't know where they were.
Yeah,
because the last time we saw them was right where we were, and we didn't know how far up they went.
Yeah.
And that was another thing too. Before we left camp that morning, we not only had a pinpoint on what we thought was Justin's bull, but I know you and I both dropped pins on here. We think the 6 bulls are here.
Yeah.
And we kind of confirmed separately. We dropped pins and then
talked about
it. And we're like, oh, we're on the same page. Yep. So we basically set camp really where that waypoint was.
Yep.
Yeah. So just having that, because otherwise in this country, you just lose context.
There's so much roll that you couldn't tell which ridgeline you were on.
Yeah.
And not a lot of definitive landmarks to go, okay, that's where they were. It's just like, I think this is it. So we just started zigzagging our way up the ridge, and I think we went around the backside, and we're looking down towards the river we're sitting on now. So you could just see massive panoramic country, and I think we're at that point kind of like, we can't find them. We're done.
Yeah.
We'll head back. But we stopped there for a good hour, rested, ate some food.
It was gorgeous.
I tried to take a nap. It didn't work out.
Yeah, we ended up seeing 2 grizzly right below us, and then a moose down in the middle of a pond.
Yeah.
That was that whole back basin.
Yeah.
Where we found Godzilla down in there.
And then, like, to Jeff's credit, there's never like a quit. So it's like, well, we're all the way up here. It's only another 400 or 500 feet to go up on top of this knob, and we could see more country. So, and we're looking at the maps, and Jeff and I are kind of looking at like, okay, yeah, we could go through that saddle and loop around. And so we're already exhausted at this point, but all right, let's do it. We hike up there, don't see anything, but we start seeing a lot of caribou tracks up there, tracks everywhere.
All the way up that ridge, there was sign everywhere.
Yeah. And we loop around, don't see anything, and we start kind of heading back towards camp, just trying to get an angle back up into the country. We get to a point where we sit in glass, and we're actually out of water at that point, so we're like packing the hydro packs full of snow, hoping it would melt. And I think eventually you spotted them, Jeff?
You were doing a pro tip.
What's that?
You were shooting a pro tip.
I was doing a pro tip.
And I was like, I started to interrupt your pro tip, but I see some caribou.
And Jeff spotted them way up high above us. And it was another thing, like, I guess I saw, like, those are, probably all saw, like, those are killable. Like, that's a slam dunk. We just got to get there. So we just start hauling butt. There's probably at least a mile and a half
least,
with some
yeah.
500 feet of climbing or more. Get up there, and we kind of we're skylined. There's 4 bulls
To the
at
left.
550 yards.
And they had worked closer to us too, which kind of
Yeah,
Right.
screwed us, to be honest.
yeah,
Like,
it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because we basically got to a point where we couldn't move anymore without being fully exposed, and we just set up. Jeff and I both set up guns, and this bull was out to the right at like 880 yards or something like that, and it was just kind of like, well, we can't. That's the one we want to shoot, but we can't do anything. These other ones are right here at 550 yards. Then there was a couple nice bulls in there, just they weren't the caliber of this one, and we just waited and waited. And eventually, I think he just got to 600 yards, and the winds calmed down, and I decided to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, it was like,
a
he was at
patient game.
820 or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like, not all of a sudden, but over time it was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's
I
780.
mean, we sat up there
oh,
for
he's
at least an
740.
hour.
Yeah.
And Jeff and I both, Jeff was backing me up, I was shooter, laid prone, rock steady, and it was tough. Like, I basically have like a 600 yard limit for myself. But the gun's certainly capable, and I usually shoot pretty well, but you know, not knowing the winds, there was some breezes, and you know, cross canyon, up canyon stuff, and just kept waiting until he got to 609, but it was a perfect dial 11 MOA on my scope, which I felt just good about, where there wasn't a guess of a few inches here and there, and pulled the trigger and made a good shot, and he went down. And I didn't think he was as big as he was until we got on him. Like, I knew he was nice, but the body size of these things were the body size was so big that I think it made the antlers not look as big.
Yeah.
And yeah, so here it is, probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I think it was
We rolled
pushing
into
8.
camp pretty late.
So what time was it?
Yeah. I have no idea. 5, 6, 7, 8. And we cut them up. Luckily we had light packs. We took photos.
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah.
We cut them up, took photos, and packed them right back to where we dropped off camp in Justin's Bowl. And it was kind of like, okay, we got 2 bulls down. These are big-bodied SOBs. We probably need to get these down to the river, get them packed out. And then I don't know, we didn't really have a plan.
Our plan was just to kind of sleep in a little bit and then get up and just start packing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pack meat. And we thought maybe we could get both loads out in the day.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think the plan was not to hunt in the morning at
No.
all. Yeah,
We were going to kind of look, but we weren't going to hunt.
it was just packing. So
That's a pretty good day one.
that's day one.
Day one. Yeah.
So same thing on yours, Steve, before we move on, for any of us, but anything stands out, did right, could have went better, good decisions, bad decisions, just the practical.
No, we played it perfect. I mean, we knew there was caribou in the area.
Yeah.
We didn't know where they went.
We didn't
took
quit.
our time. We picked
Yeah.
our way through the country. We didn't. I mean, we had every excuse and reason to be like, okay, we need to go back to camp and rest. Like we've done a lot already today. But also, I kept having in my mind, like, we got that Tuesday, Wednesday were just beautiful weather, or Wednesday, Thursday were beautiful weather days, and felt like we needed to capitalize on that. Just be in Alaska and you don't know what's going to happen. So it was definitely like we got an opportunity. Let's be really aggressive. So we picked our time, took our time, picked our way through the country, and eventually found the bulls. And then, you know, I could have been tempted to shoot further, and who knows what would have happened. But I was patient. I held within my standards for myself, and was able to make a great shot. The 6 Creedmoor barely killed the animal. He almost walked away. Actually, the Creedmoor, the wound channel was 1 bullet, absolutely massive internal damage. Went through.
It was even back a little bit.
Yeah, went through. He was kind of quartered away, so I went
Yeah.
through like back rib, went all the way through, buried into the front shoulder. The front shoulder was bloodshot, just
That's right.
hammered. Like the bullet, absolutely, that 108 LDM absolutely just destroyed that caribou. Same thing. Justin shot my gun on his caribou, so that we're 2 for 2 with the Creedmoor, with the 6 Creed.
I'm sitting behind the big lens, and while he's shooting, and I've got basically my focus magnifier in, so I can see really clear, close image of the shot. and you just see this arc bullet go dunk, and as soon as he hit it, it was like, oh, he's dead. No need to shoot again. That thing, 15 seconds, was all wobbly, and yeah, it didn't take long at all.
That was cool. I mean, it was done, executed perfectly.
I think it's similar to like Justin's. We were super aggressive in getting there, and then once you're there, being patient, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have rushed, you could have shot further, you could have settled, shot a different bowl.
Yeah, we could have tried to push down and busted them out.
Like, who knows if we would have whistled and that thing would have been like, what?
Yeah.
We haven't hunted them enough to know really what they're gonna do.
Yeah. If the big bull you shot, if we didn't notice that he was getting closer, was anybody going to shoot one of the other bulls? Because those other bulls were sub 6, like they were in range.
Yeah, the problem was they worked over to this face, and if you shot them, they were going to go 3,000 feet down. When we first got there, they were 550 yards, and there were nice bulls.
Yeah.
And the problem right then was the wind was really ripping up that canyon, and it was like I'm not taking that shot. Yeah. And I think
you were really eyeing them though.
Oh, I was eyeing them. I was set up on
I didn't talk you off the ledge.
Yeah.
Even after you shot your caribou and we worked our way up to them, those 4 or 5 bulls came right on top of us. They were only 150 yards away.
150 the most.
Like, we easily could have shot another one that night.
Yeah.
But having 2 giant body bulls down, not knowing our exit, like we had a lot to think about before we just start shooting.
Yeah, we only, back to, you said this, but coming out to where we are now, we looked at it in Onyx. We don't actually know what that's going to look like.
No.
And so now we have 2 very big bulls down.
Yep.
And a lot of work ahead. So
off the table to shoot another bull up there.
So we thought.
For all of us.
At that point.
So we thought.
Well, up there, up at the top of that.
Right. Yeah.
One thing we missed in between, we'll have to show footage of this, the dinosaur bull. I had to go take a dump, right? The bull was at like 850 yards, and I'm like, all right, I got to go to the bathroom. So I hike 100 yards down the ridge, go to the bathroom, and these guys spot dinosaur bull. So I come back, and Mark's like, you got to look at this. And they had my phone set up on the phone scope of...
He makes these caribou look small.
Yeah. He is freakishly big. But he was, even for all of us, it was just like, there's no way to kill that bull. He was 3,000 feet below us, and to get like 5 miles upriver from where we're at now.
It was a 2-day trek to get there by the time you get down and back up and around.
Not to get him out.
Yes, not an option to kill him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was executed perfectly. I don't know.
Yeah.
High level. I mean, the end result's a clean, ethical kill, and what else can you ask for? Yeah.
I felt like our approach was good.
Yeah.
We were patient.
Yeah.
We didn't give up. Like, we kept moving up the ridge until we found them. We knew they had to be up there somewhere.
Yeah.
They weren't going to disappear out of that country.
The only thing we did talk about, after I shot this one, all the other caribou just kind of stayed around and looked at us, and we talked about, like, man, we could probably be a lot more aggressive with not trying to be hidden. You could just be pretty open and make a stalk. So that was like, okay, there's a bit of information we have. Whether we use it or not, we've got it. Yeah. Go down to camp.
Got water, thankfully.
Got some water. Yep. Set up camp, go to bed, and plans to sleep in. I wake up. Like, it had been one of those mornings, you kind of wake up, fall back asleep, wake up, fall back asleep, and like, okay, it's time to get up. I zip open the tent door just to like peek outside and see if it's clear skies or whatever. And 150 yards away is a giant bull skyline. I mean, just like the triangle window that I'd opened out of the tent door, it was like smack dab in the middle of it. I think my first words were shit.
Yeah, it was. And I thought, grizzly bear. That's instantly what I thought. I was like, there's a grizz. Yeah.
Because I was like, shit, that's a big bull. We got to kill it. And the way it was feeding over the ridge, it looked like just an absolute slam dunk. And I'm like, we're already like, we got 2 bulls. We have no idea what it's going to be like to get out of here. But we're going to kill this bull. And we scramble out of the tent. The big bull and a smaller bull behind him go over the ridge. I run over, wake up Justin and Mark. And they're both just like, ah.
What?
Jess is like, yeah.
Okay, let me grab the cameras real quick.
I think I woke up to Steve saying, "Get your gun, get your gun." So
That's awesome.
Jeff, take it from here.
I just remember when you saw him and like I could see him and like I just saw the back one. I didn't really get a good look at the first one. I was like, I just saw the tops of them, and I think it was actually the other one that you almost shot.
yeah,
And I was like, that's a good one, but like I was thinking, I don't know if I want to shoot him right now, honestly, like with whatever we already had down.
Yeah.
So once we got everybody organized, then the wind was kind of not really in our favor from where they were. But I don't really know that we had, I guess we could have maybe dropped down the ridge further there.
Yeah.
But we just went side hill around because they were up above us, and we just kind of side hilled around and just barely got over that first little ridge line there. And I looked up and I could just see the bull coming down the hill right at us. And I don't know if he smelled us or if he heard us, but he knew we were there. He was probably 7,500 yards looking right at us, and then turned and boogied. And I think that was actually the same bull again that you almost shot later. And I was like, this is not a bull I want to shoot right now. So anyway, I was like, well, let's just go see where they go or what they do. So we got up and ran over the hill, and when we got over there, then there was the bigger one that was with them.
and they circled. They were like right back at camp.
They were like, if we would have stayed at camp, or one of us would have stayed at camp, we could have shot him from the hip, probably. And then when I saw that bigger one, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I want to shoot that bull. And I thought they were too far. And I don't remember if you ranged them or who ranged them.
I had my binos.
Okay, somebody said, I don't remember what the distance was.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to shoot. So I laid down, and I don't remember, I think it was like just under 6. Is that what
No,
it
it
was?
was 555.
At
I would say,
555?
I know
Okay.
I ranged at one point. It was at 560.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was getting set up too. Because I didn't know if you were shooting.
Yeah,
And,
well, we didn't really
we were playing backup.
There was no communication.
Happened way too
It was happening fast.
It was a rodeo. And I was thinking about it as we were talking through the first two, right? Like,
How clean it is.
we did everything just right. And I'm sitting over here going, oh my gosh, like, wait till we get to mine. Like, I'll tell you what went wrong. I can tell you everything that went wrong. I don't really know what went right on this one, other than he was dead at the end of it. But, so I laid down, I threw my pack down, and I got on him, and like, I had a pretty good rest, but it wasn't a great rest. And I would say that I rushed the shot. And just because they had moved and they had stopped, I was like, I'm going to take the opportunity and try to put a bull in him. And I shot and ended up hitting him. We just didn't know where. And I remember as he was running away, watching his hind legs kick, and they were different than the other two next to him. And I was like, I know he's hit, right? I just didn't know.
And then he started to separate.
And he started to separate, and then he kind of stood there, and we kept thinking, oh, he's going to fall. He's going to fall. And then he didn't. And then he kept just moving down the ridge, if I remember correctly. And then he got out there to like 1,000 yards, finally. And we decided we need to move in and try to get another bullet in him. So Mark and I guess you were behind us too, weren't you? Because you stayed up on top.
Yeah, I was going to stay up and keep eyes on them, keep tabs
eyes
on
on
them. Because didn't know once you drop down, if you were going to lose them. So I was like, I'm going to stay here. You guys start heading towards them. Because I was fully expecting them to drop.
Yeah.
But
I just kept thinking.
Yeah, once he stood there long enough, I was like, okay.
He just kept standing there, right? Like, and he wasn't. You could tell he was hurt, but you didn't know if it was a kill shot or not, or how long it would take. And I don't remember if it got on camera, but I was angry at myself because I was like, the one thing I don't want to do is wound one, and that's exactly what I did. So we got down there, kind of finally came over the top, and I saw 2 animals, and I threw up the binoculars, and it was a bull and a cow moose, which obviously was not the right target. And then I looked over to the left, and then there was the bull, and then the other bull had come back to catch him, and they were just kind of slowly walking down there, and took a few more shots, I said that day was gonna be the day of. I was gonna blast. We were gonna blast one.
Their day was, what was it?
Schlocking.
Schlocking.
We're gonna schlock them, and we schlocked them. And then this day was gonna be blast, and it turned into blasting. But we finally got him down, and I knew he was a good bull. But like when we turned the corner and walked up to the brush there, he was much bigger than I thought he was.
When he went,
what's funny is here I am, day one, shoot this absolute giant.
Yeah.
We're like, there's no way we're gonna top that.
Oh yeah.
Literally, I have the third smallest bull in camp already in 2 days.
When you shot yours, I was like, well, that's the trip. That's the bull of the trip.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
That was so cool. Walking
It
up on
was
yours.
insane.
Yeah, and when yours went down in the brush, but we couldn't see him,
Yeah.
the other two were out there, and I was just dead, because I was like set up to back
forgot
you
about
up,
that,
you're rifle to rifle, and then the other bull was at, I think 380, and the sun's like coming up in the background, he's just like backlit, I'm steady as could be, just in my scope on him, and we're all talking like, what do we do, and going back to just not knowing, like
Sure, we
we
didn't know
still
what-
don't know how we're getting out of here, what that looks like. We have two giants down. We're pretty sure the third's
two and a half down at that point.
Yeah, because he's
He's in the
disappeared
brush,
into the brush.
kind of flopping.
Whew. That bull was dead in my scope, but I just kept coming back to the unknowns, like of everything ahead, and do we really want 4 bulls down right here, right now, with not knowing what it's like to get out one of them, much less 4 of them.
For sure.
So, made the decision to pass, and then kind of got.
And then we walked up to him.
Walked up the yours.
Yeah. So then we had 3 down, when we were supposed to have 2. And then those guys, you guys went up and ended up grabbing.
Yeah, so we built a plan to. Jeff was going to stay and cut it up. We're going to go shuttle the meat. So we all went back.
Oh, we all went back.
We all went back. We
Yeah,
got
That's right.
camp.
We all
And
got
loaded
camp
up with
and
meat.
a bull and brought it down.
What's that?
We all got camp and meat.
Yeah,
and brought
camp
it
and
down.
meat, brought it down.
Yeah.
He started cutting up his bull. We went back. So we ended up a mile from camp, just
Right.
under a mile.
Yeah.
So we went back, hiked a mile back up, got all the rest of the meat, got the two antlers.
Oh, we left the antlers.
We left the antlers?
Yeah. We didn't take out the antlers till the last day.
No, but we brought him back down to
we
where
were
mine
shuttling
was.
to the,
Oh, that's
To
right.
the brush.
shuttle the
Yeah.
brush.
My bad.
And that where Jeff killed his was all brushy.
Yeah.
And we were able to like, oh man, this is gonna be perfect. We'll pile it up in the brush, and then we took the Hilleberg hand shell and put that over the top of it to keep rain off of it. So we felt good about that. It was nice and cool up there in the breeze, and then the shell was gonna keep the rain off of it. Just give us the couple days was gonna be needed to shuttle everything down. So yeah, we got the meat to Jeff's bull, and then decided that we had to grab camp. Did that all happen at the same? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So Jeff killed bull. We shuttled the meat to his. We grabbed camp, grabbed as much meat as we could. Came down.
I think we did rear quarters and back straps in camp.
Yeah, everyone grabbed a hind quarter and back straps.
Yeah.
In camp. Came down to where we're at right now, and it's like 4 o'clock.
I don't remember what
Some
time it
point
was. Yeah.
late or 3-4 o'clock. The boats, the alpaca rafts we got for the trip are at the airstrip. They're 3.5 miles of river downstream, and we're like, well, it's going to be a lot easier just to hike with empty packs down there, get those, and come back up to here, and then all we got to do is get the meat to where we're sitting right now, and then float out the river. And that's what we did. But we bonsai'd it, studied the aerial imagery of the river, looked where, like, hoping we could get down the bank here and there, and we eventually.
It wasn't too bad.
We made it. It wasn't terrible. Like
Yeah.
it could have been in river country when you got steep mountains diving into the river. You never know what that river bank's going to look like. And it wasn't. I think it took us 2 hours to get there.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, just over 2 hours.
Just over 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not, at 3.5 miles away, you're not moving fast. We were busting a
We
lot
got
of
average
brush.
1.6 is
Yeah.
what our top was, or something like that.
So we got the rafts, loaded up, more food, all the rafts, life jackets, paddles, hiked back up here, went to bed, woke up the next morning, did our first trip up there with basically super empty packs, grabbed more meat. We grabbed all the meat, actually.
Yeah.
we decided
Yeah, we did.
we pulled
Left
all
the
the meat out
racks.
from underneath the tarp with the Hilleberg, laid it out, and like, okay, I think we can do this. We start kind of dividing it up. We filled the packs completely full. That was super heavy load. Meanwhile, we're like the path from where we're sitting up to the meat, there's a lot of brush, but there's some moose trails mixed in, and every time we did it, we kept getting a little bit better. The whole time I'm on Onyx making notes, don't go here, go here. And we got that meat down, and then so all that's left up there is the 3 racks. And again, we got good weather forecast for a couple days. We built a really good meat pole down here, hung all the meat. Jeff had luckily brought a tarp, so we put that over the meat. And a little nervous about bears, but there's only so much you can do. We even had mothballs we put around and built a big brush wall. Went up there, and we're gonna hunt for 2 days. And Mark?
Yeah. It just felt really good to get the meat down here.
Oh my gosh,
Have it
that was
taken
such
care
a
of.
sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
So,
But it was, I mean, we had been non-stop going from the start of the trip, really, right? Kill Justin's bull, pack it around the mountain, kill Steve's bull, try to get some rest, plan to pack meat, kill your bull,
it felt like we were death hiking with meat on our back.
death hiking with meat, shuttling meat down here, shuttling down there to raft, shuttling back, and then, we were exhausted. Get to the end of the day, close to it. And I know at some point, like, a couple people mentioned, like, oh, we could go up in the morning, but I was like, in my mind, it's like, I want to be up there in the morning. Everyone was tired.
Sucks.
And then, so going back up with 2 nights, 3 days of food, back up with camp, after just shuttling meat and shuttling pack wraps and everything. Like, it was a slow go. Everybody's tired. I was feeling a little bit bad for dragging everybody up the mountain, but of course with these guys, like, everybody's always up for it. Get up there, and it's just a matter of, we had some daylight, but it wasn't like we were gonna hunt, because we didn't really have time to, if we spot something 2 miles away, we don't really have time to get to it and take care of it.
Or the energy.
Or the energy.
I was dragging ass.
It was a slow go. So we get up there, try to put ourselves in a decent spot to see country, but you're just constantly playing that game up there of like, oh, if we just go to that next ridge, we can see better. And then you get to that one, it's like, if we go to that one, we'll see even better. So at some point, Justin and I had passed like a really good camp spot and go up this next little ridge top, and it was good glassing, but it was rocky up there, and then the next one dove off and was crap. In the bottom, it was steep, and then I'm looking at the next ridge, and it's all rocky, so it's like, let's just stay back here, camp where camping's good. So did that, went to bed, woke up, all 4 of us, we set an alarm, it was like, okay, we started looking ahead at how does the rest of this trip play out with rafting and all kinds of stuff, and in all reality, was this just yesterday?
It was.
Saturday. In all reality, we woke up Saturday morning thinking, we really need to kill something Saturday. We could kill something Sunday morning, but otherwise, like, we have to be down here Sunday. So we set an alarm, wanted to make a full day of Saturday. I felt good if we had a full day up there, we could get something done. We had joked before of like, we've killed these 3 bulls and we've hiked our butts off and hauled a lot of meat, but we've actually hunted for, I don't even know how long,
Not
like
12 hours.
not even 12 hours to kill 3 bulls. So we were kind of joking, like, we have a full day, but we'll probably need a few hours. Joke, but true. We woke up, set an alarm, making coffee, glassing, using all the daylight. We saw some cows and calves in the distance. We saw another bull off in the distance. And then we were just like, if we're not seeing something to immediately go after, based on everything we've seen up there, what's the best path to travel, right? So it's partially just making this plan of, let's make the most use of this day, pick this country apart, and just put ourselves in good positions. But you had taken off 50 yards, I think, from where we kind of were congregated glassing, and just moved up a little bit, get a different perspective, and next thing I know, you're climbing back down and saying you got caribou. Yeah. So, Jeff spots some caribou. We have camp sets, and they were 1,000 yards or so probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we basically just grabbed. You never know when you leave camp. Like they're 1,000 yards away, but you could end up going miles. So I remember being really conscious of, I want to be able to move light, but I want to have what I need if we're gone the next 12 hours. So
Well, I think we talked about too, like we have to come back that way.
yeah.
So every other day we picked up camp and took it with us, but that day we knew we had to go back.
Yeah,
that
if
direction.
we went that direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, just grab puffy jacket and food and everything you need for the rifle and all that, and we kind of take off. We basically had to kind of stay low below these caribou and go up and over a couple folds, and then we were going to work up this bottom. It was another situation where ideally, kind of like with Justin's bull, it would have been great to make a different approach, but the wind just wouldn't allow it.
Yep.
We kind of wanted to go left and hook around and come into them, but the wind was just terrible. So we went off to the right, stayed low. We're coming like right up this cut towards them. And long story short, there was what we thought was 4, and then 3 disappeared up into this draw, and then the 1 stayed out. We thought they were all going to feed into this draw. We'd be able to keep working our way up the cut we were in and pursue them, but it basically just got to the point where the 3 disappear, the 1 is out feeding, we're exposed, and that 1 that was out feeding's feeding and working, and so we're kind of like making sure he's not looking at us. We're moving when his head's down feeding or he's turned away. And then I remember we're all watching him, and he kind of puts his head down and then starts to circle, and it's like, oh no, he's getting comfortable. Oh no. And he, sure enough, he like turns around on this little knoll and just beds down, just head right at us, and we're wide open and this bottom exposed. And so we're just like not going anywhere. We take a seat, all 4 of us kind of lined up single file,
And we were dressed light.
We were dressed light. It was breezy.
I was freezing.
Yeah. And I think he was at first he was at 600-ish, I think.
5 something.
5 something.
550s.
And so he stays bedded for a while.
And he was a good bull.
And he was a good bull.
Yeah, he had a good frame.
Yeah.
But he just like didn't have, he had a really good frame. He just didn't have the points, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's there, and then we're thinking, like, it's weird that he's bedded
All by
and the
himself.
other 3 are gone.
Yeah.
And he kind of kept glancing that way, so we were hoping those other 3 bulls are up in this draw. He's inside of, the whole herd's together, basically. We can just only see the 1.
We kept hoping.
Yeah. And he got up and then started feeding and went further up the face and then bedded again. And yeah, so we're just pinned. And again, going back to like, we're not quite sure. We probably could have got away with some movements, but we didn't have anywhere to go with the wind. We couldn't back out and make a good approach. The wind was bad. Our only choice was to go right up at him. And then we had the thought, like, are the other 3 bulls there or not? And it seemed weird to me. This bull we knew wasn't the biggest, that he kind of would have been the leader and the other 3 would have came to him. But sure enough, that's what happened. Those other 3 bulls came out of the draw, came into view, and then that happened fast. They like showed up, and I was like, all right, I got to build. I had been looking around to create a shooting position, but going back to not wanting to move, I didn't want to like actually get set up and bust things. So thankfully, I was just able to go a little bit lower and lay in some marshy wetness, but get set up. And then, at one point, all 4 bulls were out there, so I'm looking through the scope. You're glassing, we're all trying to communicate. Poor Justin's there in the back.
I'm like, please tell me which one you're going to shoot, because I
You're
got
all
3 of them, 4 of them.
Yeah, we were single file staggered away from the bulls, so it's like this line of telephone game a little bit. Like, I'm like,
Jeff, which one is he shooting?
I'm like, middle right, and then Jeff's like,
middle right. Middle right.
and so we're relaying info, and there was one bull in there that my eye kept going to it, and I put him in the scope. He was gorgeous and dark and a lot of mass and good stuff up top, but just a short, like, compact frame bull. So there's definitely a little bit of time of like, what's the best
Which
bull
one
to
you wanna
shoot
shoot,
right
yep.
here. And yeah, we all finally, thankfully, got on the same page, including Justin. And then, yeah, I was just set up prone, rear rest, shooting off the bipod, had a good range. I had ranged them. I was glad I re-ranged again because I had ranged them and didn't think they had moved that much, but then was like ready to shoot, re-ranged, and it dropped like 0.3 or 0.4 MOA or something, so I adjusted the dial a little bit. And then was just dead steady and kind of was playing telephone games. I know Justin wants it all on film, like, are we all good? Are we all good? And sent it, and just remember, like, you and I were together on a Kodiak blacktail hunt, and I shot this buck that in my scope just watched him just fold. And it was kind of like recreating.
The back feet drop and then the front goes down, you know, just
yeah.
And I was like, you stoned him.
Yeah. So we shot that buck a few years ago and did it, and then same thing on this one, just shot, and in my scope I just see him fold and drop, and then I just remember Steve in the background, giddy as could be. Oh, so fun.
I mean, that was cloud 9, dude. Like,
Yeah.
4 great bulls
Yeah.
in a very short period of time. A lot of hard work, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Like, it was just absolutely perfect. And
Yeah.
that was, once we walked up to your bull and you're in the middle
The
of
background.
Alaska. The backdrop is absolutely beautiful. The weather was beautiful. It was definitely time to soak it all in and just the pretty special.
Just the realization of we could actually make it down here too with the other caribou.
Yeah.
Like made it that much sweeter. That
Yeah.
we knew we'd be able to get his out, you know,
Yeah.
one heavy load, and then be able to go back up and get the racks if need be or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like you said, it was cloud 9. It was just felt very like rewarding, not for me just to have killed a bull, but just everything we just did really in 48 hours for the most part to kill 4 bulls, to have 3 of them at camp. Like, we busted our butts. And so it was very much, I think, when we got up to my bull, we all just kind of like sat and soaked it in of like just mission accomplished in a way.
Yeah, so I was gonna say,
like,
we did it, right? Like,
yeah. Like, we still had more work to do for sure. But yeah, it definitely just felt very satisfying to come in here with 4 guys and kill 4 good bulls. I mean, my bull is the smallest, but it was it's what I would have expected to have been really happy to shoot. I think probably all of us.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You guys just killed absolute freaks. So it was just like, it's just unbelievable. It's wild to have had the experience and
Any hindsight
do what
on
we did.
how we approached your bowl, like thoughts, like could have done this better?
Similar to where it was like just staying patient was the right call versus like trying to make something happen. The approach was tricky. It wasn't the direction I felt like I wanted to go, but just with the wind, it was like what we had to do. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess just little stuff. Like I knew when those bulls showed up again exactly what I wanted to do for a shooting position.
Yeah.
Right. Like I just thought through that a little bit because we were on this little bank cut, and I was thinking, do I want to go high behind us? Do I want to drop low below us? And yeah, I think overall similar. Of we were aggressive, put ourselves in a position, and then stayed patient and kind of let stuff happen.
Yeah.
It was early. I mean, I remember
We had
talking
the
about
time.
that.
Yeah.
It was like, it feels foolish to try and make something happen right now because it's 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know,
All day.
I don't know what we
all
could have
day.
done different, to be honest. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I think it's important to analyze a hunt post.
Yeah.
And go, oh, all right, yeah, I did do that right. If I'd gone left, I don't think that would have worked. Or
yeah.
Yeah,
just learning lessons from what you did.
for sure. I feel like with what we had, we
Yeah, I mean, we
Did
would have
well.
rather have gone left,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
couldn't.
yeah. Yeah, it was
I mean, you
pretty
made a great
amazing.
shot.
It was
Oh,
pretty
I
cool.
was definitely glad to hear when we were up there taking photos and like, everybody's drinking coffee, eating ramen, and you're like, man, I'm emotional, guys. I was like, because I am too. I was like, glad somebody else said it.
Yeah.
I was. It
Whole
was
trip, just
yeah.
unbelievable. We kept saying it the whole time. Like even in the worst moments, the pack outs, you know, how amazing is this?
Yeah.
You set your dreams and your goals to come up here and, you know, shoot 4 quality caribou and to actually do it.
Yeah. I remember you asked me at one point, Justin, after I killed my bull, you asked me, I was like, was I nervous? Which, on one hand, I just felt very confident that if we had a day up there, we could make something happen.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, 100% genuine. Before killing my bull, this trip was so amazing. It was like just to be a part of it. And I know you guys would all feel the same way if you were the one with the tag that wasn't filled. Like, dude, what a amazing experience up until that point. And like killing a bull is truly just icing on the cake. And really as much for me is like hucking you guys back up the mountain and you guys working hard. I was like, I wanted to get it done for all of us, you know, and we're all in the same boat on that, you know. So yeah, it's super satisfying. Well, I guess we'll hit the pack out a little bit. So we have my bull down, all of my meats, and then all 3 of your guys' ginormous freak racks down stashed in the brush. So we talked about load my bull up, and then of course we still had camp. So load my bull up, get to camp. We stopped and took a little bit of a break, ate a little bit, load up camp. So now we have all of my bull, meat, camp, my rack, go down to where your 3 racks are, and then just see, like, is this even doable? Can we one trip this bull with camp and then all 4 giant racks out of there? Yeah. So I know we just loaded them up and we all were able to get to our feet.
Yeah. We got
that was the start.
Justin wanted to do a few video clips, and then as we're doing those, I'm like, there's no way.
I remember you saying there's 0% chance I get down like this.
I'm running back and forth trying to set the camera up, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
So there was a moose shed antler that we had seen down on the hill, and we're like, let's just get the horns to that. We'll drop them, and then we'll just come back up later and get them.
Yeah.
And we just started hiking, and I was in the front picking the path because I was following all the notes I had on Onyx, and got to that shed antler, and I was like, I feel okay. And then we just kept moving down the hill, and everyone want to do this? Nobody really there wasn't a whole lot of yes or no's. Or just like,
I don't think you asked.
no, I think I did.
I don't think you did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I told these guys, I was like, I think 3rd at this point. And I know that Steve said, 1, I know Steve said there's 0% chance I make it down the hill. And then 2, he said, let's just make it to the shed antler, because that's where it got brushier and crappier with these big awkward racks. And so the shed antler's down in this flat. And so we're on this flat, getting ready to drop to the downhill to the shed antler flat. And so I kind of crest to where Steve's at the bottom coming out to the shed antler flat. I see the shed antler. I was like, yes. I look down and I see Steve backing out with his hat backwards. And there's the thing with Steve, like I've seen it at show season and stuff, when the hat goes backwards, it's about to get real. And I didn't say anything at the time, but I saw Steve's hat and I was like, oh crap. And I knew it. He walks right past that shed antler and keeps going. And so we get down to take the next little break, and I told all these guys, like, I knew we were going all the way as soon as I saw Steve with his hat backwards.
I actually felt better packing with the horns than I had had the day before with the meat. I don't know if it was just the way it was sitting, but like the day before I was hurt coming down the hill, where yesterday I felt fine.
Yeah. It wasn't, they were 120 pound packs.
Yeah.
They were very, very heavy. And it's not super steep, but it's really, really brushy with a lot of this
footing you can't see.
Footing, unpredictable. So it was just a really like, let's go slow. And we made it all the way down here, and it was totally worth it. Meanwhile, we're nervous about the bear meat, and we get down, and I see the first bit, and I'm like, oh, the bear meat's good. And then Jeff was in front of me, and he goes, no, it's not. And we got down here, and the bear had ripped off about half of all of our quarters, and they were nowhere in sight. So there was no rest. We get down here, and it was immediately like, oh crap, we need to find our meat. and we just grabbed pistols, guns, and just started hiking around camp. It was super frustrating, and we're all pissed off. Luckily, we got it all back. Some of it was 200 yards up the hill, just scattered all over the place, but I would say we got 95%.
Yeah,
the meat that was taken down, we got 95% of it back. The bear had pulled the bags down, drug them, and chewed on them a little bit, but that was about it. So we gathered all the meat last night, built a new thing out by the river where we were sleeping, so the meat was right there with us to keep the bear from coming back. Did this nice log setup, put all the meat on there, put the tarp over the top of it.
Repaired game bag.
Yeah, it was
meat.
cleaned up. The flies had gotten into the meat that was exposed, so it took a couple of hours.
Yeah, while we were cutting up that meat, we weren't sure if it was a grizzly, black bear. We had no idea, but I think my back's to the creek behind us, and I'm just cutting off, all the stuff that was in the dirt. And I think it's Jeff. There he is! And here's that black bear, and he's coming right towards us, probably 75 yards away, and he's closing the distance. He's walking.
He was
fast,
just walking down the riverbank.
And
Yeah,
I'm
Jeff-
looking back towards where our camp would have been, and Jeff goes running for his rifle, comes back over, pulls up. We all drop
He's
down.
shooting
and
over
he
all of
shoots
us.
just as that thing's like, he just bolted right. The perfect timing.
Well, I was gonna shoot the one time, and then I was like, you guys were in front of me, and I was, I have the suppressor. I was just afraid I was gonna muzzle blast the crap out of you.
Yeah.
And so then I think I ended up running like 10 yards closer, and then that's when he saw us and then booked, and I shot just as he ran into the bushes, and I missed him.
What a cool topper.
It would have been perfect if I would have dropped him right there. Yeah.
So we got all the meat taken care of as best we could, and then we noticed the river was getting like more aggressive. And Jeff and I both put sticks out on the edge of the water, and a couple hours later, like, it's a little bit higher. It's a little bit higher. We're starting to get nervous about floating today, and none of us have experience going down a river with these alpaca rafts with 200 pounds of gear. The day we got here, it's fast moving water. We're not super concerned about it. We go to bed, and we're sleeping in like what you could tell is like a spring runoff kind of chute of the river, where it was nice and flat and sandy. And we go to bed thinking, man, we should probably set an alarm and check to see if the water's going to come up. Jeff and I had walked up 100 yards above camp where if the water was going to come to where we're at, and it had to come up a good foot to get to camp. And 3 a.m., all I hear from Jeff is water.
The thing was, it wasn't like raining here, right? So we
No.
weren't thinking like,
So
if it
weird.
would have been pouring here, I think we would have thought like,
Yeah.
hey, like let's move or whatever. But we
Yeah,
had
I mean,
no inclination to think like
Yeah.
it's gonna flood.
I think people will look at what the river, like the footage we show of the river and what it looks like now, and
Yeah.
think those guys are idiots for camping there. Like,
Yeah.
why would you camp next to a river? But
Right.
as you said, there was zero indication of what's happening here is not going to cause the river to do what it has
Doing
done.
right now.
Yeah, it's just
we don't know what happened, how far away. The river right now is full on spring runoff. It is to the high water level. As we're sitting here, I keep hearing logs tumbling down the river. We're just hearing it's picking up all the deadfall. It's absolutely crazy.
So anyway, we wake up and we have 3 inches of water in the bottom of the tent.
Yeah, Jeff, it's water. It's like, oh crap. We get out of it. We're in just the Hillberg Anhan in our bivy sacks, and somehow, like Jeff's sleeping bag and my sleeping bag aren't soaking wet. I don't even know how
I don't
it's
know how.
possible.
Yeah.
And we scramble out, and then I'm like, oh, let's just go pitch on the island. It's it's another foot higher. The water will never get us there. And these guys are 4 inches above us, thinking, should we move? Should we not move? And we all elected to come here into the trees. There's just no good flat spots, so we didn't want to camp here. That's why we didn't start here. And we got everything moved over. Woke up this morning, and where camp was is 12 plus inches of water right now. It's absolutely
easy.
crazy. So that's where we're at.
The meat was on the island, right?
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
left
Oh,
it,
gosh, yeah.
we left that out there because it was still a foot or so from the water. And I got up at 7:30, and like the water was probably, I would say, 3 or 4 inches higher than when we had broke camp
At
at 3 a.m. So I was like, oh, it's probably about done crusting. And so came back into the tent, and then I think it was you, Justin, that got up, or I don't remember who, but
It was me and Mark about the same time.
I got up, and then you guys were like, we got to move the meat, it's almost there. And I'm like, there's no way. Like an hour and a half ago, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And it was a few inches away from getting to the meat.
Absolutely crazy. Welcome to the Alaska experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we made a meat pole and hung it all.
Yeah.
And then we made another tarp and like structure system and moved it to what is now an island. It wasn't it originally.
Now it's an underground island, or
Yeah.
an underwater island.
Yeah. And then we had to move it a third time and make another structure. And we've definitely, between shuttling the meat off the mountain and then how many times we've moved it down here,
It's been
put in a lot of work.
Rodeo.
We definitely would have stayed in here had we not had the bear encounter.
For
but
sure.
Yeah.
Once the bear came in here and got our meat,
Yeah.
one, we wanted to try to float out.
Right.
But two, being up against that river kind of limits their access into the meat. So we were
Yep.
able to put our tents right there, put a bunch of
Surround it.
paddles and tripods and trekking poles around the meat. Kind of, if we did have a bear come in, we were going to hear him. So that was kind of our reasoning of getting out on that, that river, out on the edge there.
Yeah.
That all changed real fast, and now we're in here.
We have no idea if we're going to be here for 24 hours or 48 hours or what. It's unfloatable right now, way too dangerous. Technically we could hike to the strip, but there's no way we could get all the meat down
And
there.
that strip's probably underwater.
Yeah,
That strip's underwater, yeah. So we got a day of food and caribou meat. We're hanging out, podcasting.
Yeah.
I know we skipped a lot. We can go back and dive into anything if anything's top of mind or want to add, or
I would like to get your guys' opinion on mine, because we didn't go over that, like what I should have done different there in that situation.
I think the only thing with me, because I was getting set up too, right?
Yeah.
Like we were both getting set up, and what made me not want to shoot was every time I ranged it,
It was different.
it was different, and it was like jumping different.
Yeah.
So it was like, it's one of those situations when animals are moving, and they weren't running, they weren't
No, you're right.
they don't look like they're moving a lot, but they just cover ground so much so quick that as I would range and then like find it in the scope or think about it and see him move again, and then
Tree just fell.
tree just fell over.
Holy crap!
Live podcasting in the Alaskan.
Wow, that was
Dude, that's how big, that was an alive tree.
It was, yeah.
Holy crap.
interesting.
There comes that colder weather.
Yeah.
We need
Eat
it.
it.
So
Makes me a
anyway,
little nervous now about sleeping tonight.
yeah. That was the only thing that made me not want to shoot. I'll
Yeah.
put it that way. It was like, I never felt like they stayed in one spot long enough for me to trust, like,
For sure.
I ranged, I'm set up, or they still there, basically.
Yeah, no, and then to be honest, like that's what happened. I ended up hitting low in the brisket is where my first shot hit. Just if it would have been 2 inches higher, it would have been over much quicker.
Yeah, could have been a hard shot or
but
something.
that could have been it, right? I misranged, or it was all so chaotic, and
Yeah.
looking back, I probably should have just not shot. That's probably what should have happened, but.
Yeah, I don't know what if they would have calmed down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just laid there and not, just let them run off 1,000.
Yeah.
I bet they wouldn't have left the country.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but they
'Cause
also
they were-
spooked more than
They
I
were
would expect.
spooking
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And yeah,
yeah. It was just rushed,
it was rushed.
Yeah.
Very much rushed. Yeah.
but sometimes that's necessary to kill something. You got to act fast.
For
Right.
sure.
Yeah. I want to go check the river, see where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll wrap this up. Again, I don't know. I'm assuming this will be on video. We're video recording it, but it'll also be an audio podcast. And Justin did an incredible job filming, I know. So we'll have
Awesome job.
Holy crap, the videos from this hunt.
Yeah, I don't.
And pictures too, just like
Yeah.
oh,
We're not done. We got some river to float.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll
Exciting.
have a hunt film coming or like multiple episodes coming, but yeah, a lot more coming. We still have to make it out of here alive and get home to our families, so we still have a lot to do. But for now, that's a wrap. For more, follow the Experience Project on the website or on the EXO YouTube channel. And the project, there's more hunts to come. Not only this one, not only is this adventure not finished, but the rest of the fall.
This has been one heck of a start.
Yeah, it's
The Experience Project's off to a good start.
yeah.
Yeah. We're getting the experiences.
We gotta look at that tree and see like what is rotted in the roots.
Yeah.